Cindy, I am really excited about these new products we just partnered with.
You mean the Via hemp products?
Mm-hmm.
Me too. I'm excited because now our listeners can get these amazing gummies at a discounted rate.
That's right.
I mean, right now, my favorite is the Via Flow State CBG and CBD gummies because we know that you guys are busy like us. For me, it's really hard to stay on track and get everything done in one day. My to-do list is like 20 pages long.
20 pages long.
The Via Flow State gummies really help me focus and they help me concentrate. And I can get through my to-do list without freaking out.
Yeah, I was looking for something to help me unwind when I started taking the Zen gummies, and they totally made me zen.
So zen, I was like, who are you?
It turns off the stress, and I was able to sleep through the night for the first time in a very long time.
You know what I really love about them is that Via hemp products are organic. I'm all about organic.
Yes, you are.
And they're trusted by over 250,000 customers. And they have products for everyone. So if you don't want THC, they have THC free. It's up to you.
It all depends on the dosage.
Exactly. From 0 to 100 milligrams, you can choose on their website, and they have really great flavors. Strawberry, blueberry, grapefruit. I mean, there's a ton of flavors. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, when it's time to chill, I love the Delta 9 CBN Dreams because it takes the edge off, and I love how relaxed I feel.
I really like the High Love gummies. It's an organic aphrodisiac. It just makes you feel really warm and relaxed, and I tell all my friends they need to try it.
And the best part is Via legally ships to all 50 states in discreet packaging to your door with a worry-free guarantee, no medical card required.
So for people 21 and over, you can get 15% off and a free pack of these award-winning gummies with our exclusive code PITC at viahemp.com. That's VIIAHEMP.com.
That's VIIA hemp.com. Use PITC at checkout. Please support the show and tell them we sent you. Enhance your everyday with Via Hemp.
A note to listeners. The following podcast contains content that may not be suitable for all audiences.
Another little twist in the road there, you know, that all these cars were found or vehicles were found on that property that were nobody was ever charged with. And when I asked the question, you know, why wasn't anybody charged with that? And I was told, well, what are we supposed to do? We can't prove who it belonged to. I said, but it's on the NIT property. The owner of the property should be charged with those stolen vehicles. I know if a stolen car was sent in my driveway, I'm going to jail. And so the deputy that was out there that I was talking about, he always takes pictures of things, and he took pictures of has pictures of charcoal briquettes that were down inside that hole. That's what the source was.
Hold on.
That's what was keeping this thing hot.
Charcoal briquettes, and that's exactly what Joe said.
And so
last week
they dug that up, yes. Jason wasn't charged then, if I recall, but Colt and Jason's girlfriend were.
And then Colt got his charges dismissed, even though it was his second arrest for methamphetamines.
Right.
Which is suspicious to me. Why?
Well, so somebody that, you know, was very, very close to these individuals back then, and I recently spoke with, told me that, you know, at the time that arrest happened and Colt's charges being dismissed, Jason believed that Colt got a deal to roll over on Jason, and so he believes that Colt rolled over on him and told them, you know, that Jason does have a meth lab in his home, and this is, you know, whatever he told him.
You are listening to Partners in True Crime. We are your hosts, Rob and Cindy Dorfman. Hi, everyone. If you're enjoying the podcast, please leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, even if it's one word.
And please subscribe to our website, www.partnersintruecrime. Follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram to check out our weekly promos. We're also now on YouTube at Partners in True Crime. If you subscribe to our website, you'll be getting weekly emails from us and all kinds of promotions and things that we don't advertise on the podcast.
As we continue to investigate what happened to Molly and Colt, we feel it's important to enlist professionals in law enforcement and crime scene analysis. That is why we had JODI Barth and Joseph Scott Morgan on the podcast the past couple of weeks.
After we aired both of those podcasts, Paula called us right away. Just like with the tipsters, when Paula heard JODI and Joseph speak, she started to remember things about the case that she needed to tell us.
So today Paula's coming on to talk about some of the things that she's remembering about the case. Paula also has discovered a possible motive for Colt's murder as well. Let's hear what she has to say. Okay, so this week we got Paula back on the podcast, and we wanted to have her on to talk a little bit about the last two podcasts that we had. We had, JODI Barth on, who has been a regular contributor on this podcast, and it was interesting to hear her perspective after all these months, and she's been listening to the podcast and things have been happening, so it was good to hear her perspective. And also we had Joseph Scott Morgan, who's a retired medical examiner for New Orleans and also for Fulton County in Atlanta, and he has an enormous amount of wealth of experience, and so we wanted to hear those perspectives. So it was important to bring, I think, Paula on, because after she heard those, she called us and it kind of jarred her memory on a few things. And so let's start off with JODI, Paula. So it was great to have her back on, because I think she really knows this case as much as we do. And in fact, she may have another layer on top of that, because she has done a couple really deep dives, investigative deep dives, and she's got the expertise of all those years of experience of doing all these investigations, and these, like in the hundreds, and the CSI stuff that she's been involved in. So what did you think that when you heard her speak, and what kind of came to mind when she started talking about, the two big things I think we were talking about is circumstantial evidence, and then also being able to convict someone without having a body?
Well, when she was talking about the no body, no crime scenario, and, that Con had said that, and I'd heard that before Stormy had ever mentioned it on the podcast, that he had said that she had heard him actually say that as well. I'd heard that from someone else at one point, that he had said no body, no crime. Well, it brought up a point, of a girl who went missing in Oklahoma after Molly went missing. And they have now convicted that individual without the body and given him life in prison. And matter of fact, he was just sentenced last week. And so, and the judge did not go easy on him, because he would not tell where the body was, even after he was convicted. So
what was the name of that? What was the name of the victim in that case? If you remember.
Faith Lindsay.
We'll have to look that one up. That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tanner Washington was the one who was convicted of murdering her. So I had been in touch with her grandmother and her stepmom, and her stepmom reached out to me last week and let me know that that he was charged. Well, I had known he had been charged, but that he was sentenced, and he was sentenced to life in prison. And I believe it was a second-degree murder charge. However, that there doesn't have to be a body in order to convict somebody. And I realize it, because I've seen enough other cases, since Molly went missing, that kind of thing. When you see it, you take memory of it, because, we may be in the same circumstance at one point, which I hope not, but it's definitely a possibility. So I thought that was important that she mentioned that. I'm really glad Stormy came on, because she gave JODI a lot to think about and go back and remember on. She brought up that when people talk and they bring up stuff, and you mentioned JODI, probably does have a better grasp on some of the evidence that we have and statements than we do, because she knows what to look for. And the way she's gone through all of the information that we've given her, is incredible. The times that her and I would talk on the phone when she had questions about things, she had a room with everything laid out all over the floor, and she left it there for quite some time, going over this case, and she just couldn't let it go.
She
And
still
she
can't.
brought
She
up,
still can't.
She's still,
right,
it haunts her, just like us. It's something she can't let go. She's convinced that there's going to be resolution, as we are. So
right. Well, she brought up the white truck, that was found to be stolen on the Nip property after Molly and Colt went missing, and that Molly was in a white truck, when Stormy dropped her off, or dropped, what was it, Colt? She
Colt.
dropped Colt off, and Molly was in that truck. Well, that's not the same truck, and I don't think there's any relation between the lady that owned that truck and Molly's boyfriend Tanner at the time. I don't think there was any relation there. That truck was actually, I had spoke with that woman as well, and Molly used to hang out at this woman's house. I believe she had a daughter that was close to Molly's age, and Molly would hang out over there. And Molly was a witness to that. I believe she was there at the time the spare key was taken off the refrigerator and that truck was stolen.
Who took
I
the
do
key?
know,
Who took the key?
I believe she had told me that it was Con that took the key. So when that truck was found on the Nip property, I believe it was the day, about 2 weeks. Let's see. No, it was, I think, the third week after Molly went missing is when that truck was actually found on that property, when the other 6 or 7 or 8 vehicles were found there. And those were stolen vehicles as well.
And they were on the Nip property, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yes.
And nothing was done because of it. They just
No.
were found on it.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I recall when after her truck was recovered, they put it in impound and did not contact her for quite some time that her truck was recovered and that it was an impound. And by the time she was notified, the impound lot was charging so much to get it back that she couldn't even afford to get it back. I don't know that she ever did. So, that's just another little twist in the road there, that all these cars were found or vehicles were found on that property that nobody was ever charged with. And when I asked the question, why wasn't anybody charged with that? And I was told, well, what are we supposed to do? We can't prove who it belonged to. I said, but it's on the Nip property. The owner of the property should be charged with those stolen vehicles. I know if a stolen car was sent in my driveway, I'm going to jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So,
It's ridiculous. They found it on their property and nothing happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and it's like there's multiple vehicles like the Mustang, a lot was talked about. I don't remember which podcast, if it was JODI's or Joseph's podcast, where they were talking about the car being moved. And I believe
it was Jodi's.
It was JODI because she's
that.
We're all in agreement that we believe that car was moved.
Right. But do you recall? I got to thinking about this today when I was re-listening to both podcasts. Do you recall when the 4 went to Con's house and they said, were asking where they were, and Con replied to Rob Nichols that they, where we left the Mustang, they're near there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where that car was found was not near where that Mustang was found. So that made kind of reaffirmed that, that the car was moved.
Yeah.
At a later time.
Because it was,
because if they were there at that moment, but then the car was found over here on the Hatley land, some distance away from that. So that I thought that was interesting. I got to thinking about that when, because I know the Mustang and where Sabrina's car is found was, not in the same area.
No, it wasn't on the Nip property.
Mm-mm.
So, yeah, well, I'm going to because talk about that a little bit, because what you're saying is that when they came, Rob Nichols and the other three individuals came up to ask Con where he left them. He said, "Oh, you know where that silver Mustang is?" And he says, right near there. And that silver Mustang was found on NIP property like 3 weeks later, correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay,
yes.
so 3 weeks.
And that was before Molly and Colt went missing. That was a whole different police chase. That was a police chase was involved there. In a stolen Mustang, and that was a whole separate situation than when Molly and Colt.
I just can't get over the fact that they knew it was Con that stole the silver Mustang, or they didn't know.
I believe they knew.
Okay, so you got multiple stolen vehicles on the NIP property. They know he did it. They find these cars. Okay, but no one's charged. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you have stolen property on your property, I just don't get that. I don't get why, and these cars were reported stolen.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like if we stole a car and it was sitting in my garage and the police showed up and they find the car that they're looking for, I would be arrested. It wouldn't even be a question. No,
it's not for anybody else. It would not.
But why do these people? Why are they above the law? Like, why is they allowed to do these things? Who are these people? Like, why does
they're related to the sheriff.
But correct. So that's the root of all of this.
They are above the law. Yeah. That's why Con, when he started the police chase to begin with, he knew if he got back into Love County, because he was in Carter County when the police chase began, he knew if he made it back to Love County, he was free and clear. So that was just his MO. And that's I don't know. I can't wrap my mind around it. Today, when I was listening again, I thought back to a recording I listened to of Con and his father when Con was in prison. And I recall, it was real close to Con getting out. And he was telling his dad all the stuff that he needed his grandma to buy for him and get sent to him before his release and this type of thing. And I recall his dad saying to him, that I've mentioned it before, I believe, where, son, when you get out of there, you can't come back. You got to lay low. You can't be doing your Dukes of Hazzard. You can't be going out and starting any police chases, doing the Dukes of Hazzard thing. And I just recall him saying that and just laughing. I was like, God, it's like, I don't know. It's just all baffling to me.
I know. It's like he's telling him, no, you shouldn't go out there and egg cars or soap up windows. It's like he treats it like it's just such a pedestrian thing. You can't go just doing your Dukes of Hazzard thing, stealing cars and making cops chasing you, creating a high-speed pursuit where someone could possibly get killed. And as we know, 2 people got killed, not from the actual high-speed chase, but the aftermath. Mm-hmm. So it's just there was homicides related to that chase. I don't care what you say, but that chase is what started it all.
Well, it is. And, that's irregardless if he, overdosed them or shot either one of them or however they died. He is the responsible one who put them in that position, and, he put many people in that position. He put Rob Nichols in that position at some point, and there was others, at different times where they've been in high-speed chases in the car with him that he's put them in some dangerous situations. And, I'm surprised Molly and Colt were the first. I'm glad they're the last, but I'm surprised that they're the first ones who ever got seriously hurt or killed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're trapped in the car with this guy, and then he decides to go on 120 mile an hour high speed chase in the middle of, these back roads, which we've been on them. I mean,
yeah,
it's dangerous.
Yeah, you go like.
I mean, you're trapped in that car. Like what are you going to do? There's nothing you can do.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's lucky. None of the police officers that were following him on any of those chases didn't get seriously injured.
Right.
Because then you're dealing. How's Joe gonna put that Humpty Dumpty back together? How can he turn a blind eye to that? But he
Well,
was able to turn a blind eye to 2 people being murdered. So it's like you don't
in
know.
2014, January 2014, when he was in that next high-speed chase with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, they had those speed bumps set up on Long Hollow Road where, it would slow the police down, if they were chasing them. And that one Oklahoma Highway Patrolman actually went airborne and hit a tree.
Oh,
And luckily he was not seriously injured, but he could have been, and so he's just real lucky. And because it was the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, and that had it been a Love County deputy or something, it would have been swept under the rug once again. I'm sure, my opinion, but I'm sure it would have been. But thankfully it was the Oklahoma Highway Patrol that got him that time. And that was the same time Johnny Denny had arrested him.
yeah.
So, yeah. So it's just a lot, to think about when you go back and you listen to some of this stuff. And, like with her and like with this other gentleman that did the podcast, and some of the things they say, and you're like, sometimes it's like they bring up something that, put something else with something else that you heard, like with the white truck situation, about that was Molly was a witness. Is that a motive?
Exactly.
It is a motive, to be quite honest. But was Molly going to tell that he stole it? I don't know. But that's what it brought to mind when I heard her bring up that Molly was a witness to that, because she was, and it's in a police report.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important that's why it's important to bring in fresh perspectives and people who are trained at looking at these things from, they've seen so many of them, so they can see and draw parallels from prior cases because they have so much information to go on. So I was really happy that, JODI came back on and spoke about all that stuff, and really kind of, because what it does, it gives you a fresh perspective for us, because we're so knee deep in it half the time, and that you can kind of get myopic with all these facts and figures. I mean, all this stuff floating around, and like you were saying, how it jostled your memory about a few things, and just because we have so much information in our heads, and and even on these gigantic binders we have laying around here with all the cases and the tips and the reports, it's a lot. And so, but the only way you can really kind of get a better perspective is if you have someone else looking at it from the outside in and looking at the raw facts, and that's what they're looking at. And so I thought that was really hopeful in what JODI was saying about saying, listen, 90% of the cases that get convictions don't get convicted based upon direct evidence. That gets based on circumstantial evidence. And I think if there's any case that has a lot of circumstantial evidence in it, it's this one. It has a lot of circumstantial evidence. And that's why I'm just confused why it's taking so long to get answers because of that. And, and the whole thing also, like you said before, when you were telling me about that other case where they able to convict the killer based with no body, and he's still not giving them answers on where it is, which is strange, because if he's already convicted, you would think he'd want to have because killers in the past, even serial killers, have cut deals for themselves by showing them where the remains were, so the family can have some sort of resolution and avoid the death penalty, or take some years off their crime, or get it knocked down to something else. But the fact that he's not, I'm glad they're throwing the book at him, because that's probably the most second worst thing you can do to a family besides kill their loved one, is not tell them where the remains are.
Right.
Because that's just brutal.
So, speaking about that, what did you think of Joseph's podcast about the burn pit?
Well, I was very interested in that, because I was really glad to hear that he basically is saying as well that that's like the spot. They need to go back there, and that with the metal detectors, with the sifting stuff, and it's going to be a multiple day ordeal. I found that interesting because I feel the same way. I've said before, I believe, Colt was there for a long time. I believe he was left there for a long time. And although I believe most of his remains were moved from there, I believe there's still evidence left there. And so, like you mentioned, Trace Sargent's dogs hitting there, they did. And that, they had taken them multiple places way far north of that location in that creek bed and hit nothing until they got there. So, they never hit on any location until they got to that location. So I find it really interesting. And, he talked a lot about the burn source, the fire source. And when we were there, it was discovered on the 10th of September, the fire was. And that's when Joe Russell and his deputies came down there. And then a local fireman came down there, and Joe asked that local fireman, "Is this fire hot enough to burn a body?" And so he says this, thinking, I don't know what he's thinking. God, I don't know. But the fireman, that's not his expertise, and he was like, he really didn't know if it was or not. And we go back there.
And as a law enforcement officer, how does he not know that?
No, I'm talking about the fireman.
No, I know, but I'm talking about Joe. Why is Joe asking a fireman? He should know, what that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't really know why. I don't think he would know because it's just really not his line of expertise.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, and so when we went there, it was about 11 or 12 days later when I went there to that location and saw it for myself, and it was still burning. And when I looked down into the hole, it was really dark inside that hole. And, it was really hard for me to get a good picture, but a deputy that came out there. Okay, so I went there, I saw it for the first time, and then 2 days later, I went back after going to the OSBI's office and telling them, because they were supposed to show up and check it out for themselves and never did. So I went back 2 days later, and Joe and another deputy were showing up on the property the same time I was.
Skeptical about custom beauty? I get it. My feed is flooded with customize this, personalize that. Everybody's promising to fix my split ends, my dry skin, and my fine lines. And you know that all these products I buy, none of them have worked.
Lots of products she buys.
But now I'm so excited because I get to share this with you guys. We have partnered with pros, and when they say custom, they actually mean it. It's not a gimmick. Your formula does not exist without you.
And each and every bottle of Pro's custom hair and skincare is made to order, personalized with a unique blend of naturally powerful and proven effective ingredients to meet your needs.
They have this in-depth consultation that analyzes 80 factors for a complete view of you, your life, and your beauty goals.
Wow, that's a lot. And they get personal. Pros gets to the root of the problem. They cover everything from your diet, concerns, to exercise and stress to uncover what's impacting your hair and skin health.
I love the fact that they even asked me for my zip code to assess the hard water, because that's a terrible problem in my neighborhood. And how, oh my God,
hard water.
Right?
We have really bad hard water.
Really bad. So, and then they also tell you how this impacts my hair and my skin. And then they recommend an entire routine of truly personalized products that were not created until after I placed my order. So there's nothing pre-mixed, nothing off the shelf. And I know this from experience that their one-of-a-kind formulas equal 1 in a million results. Since I switched to Pros, my hair is shinier, stronger, fuller, and my skin is not dry. And I live in the desert. And everyone is noticing.
Yep, I noticed. You look fantastic. I can definitely see how Cindy's hair has grown so much since she has been using Pros. But don't just take our word for it. In a third-party, double-blind, dermatologist-supervised controlled clinical study, the gold standard in research studies, PROS proved personalized works better than off-the-shelf alternatives.
Try it for yourself and get the healthiest hair in 30 days or your money back. PROS is so confident that you'll love the results that they're offering our listeners an exclusive trial offer so you can see the difference custom care can make. You gotta try it.
50% off your first subscription order at pros.com/PITC.
That's pros.com/PITC for your free consultation and 50% off your one-of-a-kind formula. Pros.com/PITC.
And so that deputy took pictures inside of there. And also, when the OSBI officer agent showed up, he made me leave, telling me this was his crime scene now. And so Joe called the county commissioners and had a backhoe brought out there. And that was dug up then. That was the first time it was dug up in September of 2013. It was dug up by the OSBI and the county commissioners and the Love County Sheriff's Department.
Did they take any soil samples?
Okay, okay.
I can't.
So,
I think they did, but I think there's a weird story behind it.
Yes, he and so the deputy that was out there that I was talking about, he always takes pictures of things, and he took pictures of has pictures of charcoal briquettes that were down inside that hole. That's what the source was.
Hold on.
That's what was keeping this thing hot.
Charcoal briquettes, and that's exactly what Joe said.
And so
last week.
When they dug that up, yes. When they dug that up, the OSBI agent found a Mountain Dew can that was on the ground, cut it in half, and put and this is before they dug it, and put a metal wire thing on it to put it down inside that hole and scoop out some ashes. Okay, so he scooped. I didn't leave the property. I was still on the property.
So you actually saw him do this?
Me?
Yeah, did you see him sift it out with a
No, the deputy showed me, and there's pictures of him standing in the hole, smiling up at the camera. And they saw him do this, and they told me he did this. So he scooped the ashes out, and then when he was leaving the property, I was still on the property, and he would not stop and talk to me. But a couple of deputies did. They showed me the Mountain Dew can that he used and the
photographs they showed you? They showed you the photograph?
Yes, I've seen the photographs.
Okay.
I don't have them, but I have seen them, yes.
Okay.
So
we know for a fact that they took soil samples. The OSBI has soil samples somewhere.
Okay, so
well, they took them with a tin can of a Mountain Dew can, so I doubt that they put if you're taking a soil sample, that's not how you take a soil sample.
Well, regardless of how they pulled it out, it wasn't the proper way of doing it, but
they don't have them.
They don't have them.
They do not have them.
So he didn't take it with him?
Nobody has them. I have contacted the OSBI. That is not, when Justin Brown, this was before Justin Brown took over the case at the OSBI. There is no ashes there. I was told, that they took them to the health department. Well, that makes no sense, but whatever. I spoke with Craig Ladd, the DA, trying to find out if he knew anything about these and where they went to be tested. He knew nothing about them. So they're gone. They're gone.
Yeah.
They are absolutely gone. I don't know what happened to them. I believe that he threw them right in the dumpster. If you want to know my opinion, that's what it is. I don't believe he took any of that seriously. When I saw the picture of him standing inside that hole after they dug it up, looking up the camera with a shovel, and he's waving up the camera, that told me right there he was not taking this seriously. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they dug it up,
right?
There could have been things found that were removed.
Yeah, and they didn't bring a team in. They didn't bring a forensic team in. It was just local deputies and what was it? What was the guy's name? David Seals?
David Seals.
David
Yes.
Seals, who, we checked his background as a law enforcement. He didn't have any crime scene investigation background, as far as we know. And, and then he handed off the case to, the other agent in question. So once again, it's one of those things where the proper investigative techniques were not used in order for this. And it was like they were placating everybody by just kind of going through there. You bring like a gigantic backhoe in to do all this stuff. I mean, you saw what we went through at Toby's house with both Cheryl Mack McCullum and Maureen O'Connell. I mean, they were running that thing, and everything that we pulled out of that pond after we drained it was going through a scrim, and we had like 10 people staring at this dirt and going through it and raking through it, meticulously as we pulled tons of dirt out of this pond.
Right.
So I have a question. Did anyone have an answer for why there were charcoal briquettes in this fire?
No, they claimed that was okay. Here's what they tried to say to me that it was. They believed that it was a tree stump, and what's down in there was the remnants of a tree stump, like bark and stuff. But let me tell you something. I mean, this might be a question for Joseph. If that was a tree stump, okay, and that was initially found on the 10th of September, and we're down in like 21st, 22nd or September, yes. Now we're 2 weeks later, 2.5 weeks later. Wouldn't tree bark be like ash by now?
Yeah, he said that. He said the only way to keep a fire going for that long is to turn it with charcoal briquettes.
Oh, no, not even. No,
he said charcoal.
He didn't say charcoal briquettes. He said, because he initially was talking about the wood in that area, and he said the amount of wood that you would need in order to generate that heat would be massive. And he goes, so he would have, where would they get the wood? And then there was plenty of wood in that area, and there was like hickory.
Plenty of wood.
Plenty was hickory.
They wouldn't have to go anywhere for wood.
They wouldn't have to go anywhere for wood. But he said what was interesting is that you'd have to manage that fire to keep it hot and constantly turn it, which
they were. So the first time it was the day it was found. On that day, the person who found it didn't even notice the hole there because it was covered up with a piece of tin. The day we went there and I saw the hole, I said, "Did you see this when you were here before?" And they were like, "No." And so I said, "Pull up those pictures." So we looked at the pictures again, and the reason it was not noticed that on the 10th was because it was covered with a piece of tin. And now that piece of tin, when I'm there that day, is laid over here to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the fire, it was still hot. Down inside that hole was still hot. But when I went back 2 days later, you could tell that they were not still coming down there. They were still not keeping that going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In those 2 days, the fire had died down inside that hole. It was not as hot as it was when we were there.
Well, I have to call bullshit on their theory about it being a tree stump, because we were down there. I was down there. I don't think you were down there, because that's when the whole thing, you walked down there.
No, I went down after.
You went down there.
Yeah, after the laser thing.
I was, I was on that area. Okay, there would be no reason to burn a tree stump in that area.
No.
It wasn't like in the way of anything. If anything, it was in like this little channel, which sometimes gets overflowed in if they get a lot of rain or overflow. But there was no remnants of any kind of a tree stump, and it would seem bizarre for them to spend that much time to burn a tree stump in that part of the property.
Okay, we have to remember that Jackie Bates went and talked to Kobe Barrick about that, off the record less than a year ago, I believe. He went and spoke to him at his work, and Kobe admitted to him that he started that fire. But he claimed the reason he started the fire was for his pot plants. Everybody that lives in that area, that has land in that area, that hunted those properties has said there was no grows in those areas where he would have gotten for this ash to be used on. Now we do know that there was a grow over on Battle Springs Ranch. There was a grow over there, but the distance is what, 3 miles as a crow flies from that area over to where that grow would have been over there on Battle Springs Ranch. So we know that he has owned it. He said he started the fire.
Mm-hmm.
So now we know that the people of interest are starting the fire that has been suspicious since we found it.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing that's just being completely overlooked, I guess.
So when Phil Klein came down there, what did he end up doing around the burn pit?
They brought in a backhoe and they dug it up.
So did they take soil samples?
He did take some soil samples back with him, and I'm not sure of any of those results.
Okay.
When did the dogs go?
That same day.
That same day.
With Phil.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
And the dogs hit in that area.
Yeah. Yes. I was not there initially when they were doing that search, and then I got a call that I probably need to come down there, that the dogs were hitting on that location. So I went down there, and they were bringing in the backhoe to start the excavation of that. We also called the OSBI, and they brought I'm at a loss what they call them. They brought a gentleman out there who he can look at the landscape and see if it's been disturbed.
Okay.
And so I showed him pictures of the day that we found, or the day I was there, and what the landscape looked like in the area before it was dug up by Joe Russell and the OSBI. And then before we dug it, I don't even recall what he said, but honestly, I can't remember what he told me about that. It's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But he's one of those guys that they actually do the sifting and do all of that.
Oh, so he's a CSI tech.
Anyway.
Well, notwithstanding all that, I think if Phil did take some of that soil, we'll have to contact him, see if he still has it. I don't know if he does, but who knows? And I don't know if he actually went and got it tested. He may have gotten it tested. Maybe it didn't pan out.
Well, as you know, with excavating those things, it's tedious. You can't just do one little soil sample. There's like a whole process, listening to Joseph on how you have to do it. And what we experienced when we did the excavation, I mean, there's a lot that goes into this. It's not just like one day. So, and he said it's very time consuming, and that you need specialists who know the dirt and who know how to recognize bone fragments. You have to be skilled and trained for that. It's a very specific skill.
Yeah.
So,
but he did say there would still be stuff there.
Oh yeah. He said you have to go with metal detectors. Button could have fell off. It could be anything. There could be the tiniest little thing could still be there.
Well, that creek bed runs to the south, and that everything that goes down that creek bed, I don't know how far down to the south it was, but there's a fence down there, and everything collects there. All the trash, all the debris, it all collects there. And I know a little further south there was a dog that hit down there. I don't remember if it was Trace's dog or not, or even the same day, because we've had dogs down there multiple times. But that area down there where all the debris and everything washes down to and collects, that would be the best place to go to start looking, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Because it's all going to collect down there, and it's not that far away from the area where the fire.
And it's all on this. Is it on the same piece of property, same property owner?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it definitely is a place that needs to be checked further, without a doubt.
I also wanted to talk about what we discovered a few weeks ago when we were looking through the police files of Colt, when he was arrested in January 2013 with Jason Dillard, and his methamphetamine charges were dismissed, 3 months before this happened?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't know that before. Did you?
No. No, I did not. I may have known back then, but a lot of that information back then was not very relevant to me, so I didn't retain it well. But Jason wasn't charged then, if I recall, but Colt and Jason's girlfriend were.
And then Colt got his charges dismissed, even though it was his
did.
second arrest for methamphetamines,
Right.
which is suspicious to me. Why?
Well, so somebody that, was very, very close to these individuals back then, and I recently spoke with, told me that, at the time that arrest happened and Colt's charges being dismissed, Jason believed that Colt got a deal to roll over on Jason. And so he believes that Colt rolled over on him and told them, that Jason does have a meth lab in his home. And this is, whatever he told him, but he believed that Colt rolled over on him. And that's how Colt got out of that situation. But so the next time he sees Colt out after he is released from jail, he felt like Colt was acting very strange. And so
Jason Dillard did, or this other person?
Yes, Jason Dillard did. He believed Colt was acting very strange. So he got the meth lab out of his house and took it into the woods. And then he was raided, from my understanding, but there was only I can't remember what they actually found, but it was very minimal compared to what it would have been had they gotten him with the lab in the house. So I was told that would be a motive.
Yeah.
But that Colt actually did at a later time, before his passing, obviously, but did help Jason out in a situation. And so he kind of made up for turning him in. But, I don't believe that minor gesture that Colt did would, pay his debt, to Jason.
No. I mean, because if he was going to rat him out for that, I mean, it doesn't bode well if he's doing business with him in the future and that he's not going to rat out him again.
Right.
Just to save his butt, which is how it works. You cut a deal.
Right.
So, and Colt is young. It was only the second time they probably told him, so listen, if you don't give us something, you're going to go away right now. Mm-hmm. This is your second offense.
Because went away for like 6 years. She got out in 2000. She just got out like not that long ago.
But what was it for that?
Yeah.
The same one?
Yeah.
What's longer than 6 years?
She got out, I think, 2019.
That does sound interesting. It does have some connective tissue there. And it's all just recently prior to them going missing.
It's a little suspicious. It's only a couple of months before they went missing.
Well, I don't know. The more you get into it and the more people come forward and tell you things like that, because that's something I just heard, like in the past, 2 or 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd never heard that before, never been told about it. That's why we started looking into it
Mm-hmm.
further. And that's what we saw, his charges were dismissed on, and yeah, it was January that they was arrested. And I think it was March when
the charges were dismissed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was like 3 months before they went missing.
Right. And then, so Joseph was talking about the DEA possibly getting them involved. And I was thinking when I heard that the DEA was involved, I thought, but actually doing a little more checking into that, it was not the DEA, it was the ATF.
Yes. I remember the ATF was...
Yeah, that were involved, and they were out there on that search that happened because of the information that was given on July the 8th, 2014 by Deuce Davis when he was in jail over at Love County. And based on that information, based on Deuce Davis's information, is the only reason the DA requested the OSBI take over the case. And
you mean the ATF or the DEA? Are you talking about the ATF asked the OSBI to take over the case, or the DEA?
No, the DA.
The DA. Okay, I thought you said
DEA. The district attorney requested that the OSBI take over the case. And so the ATF, the U.S. Marshals, the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, I don't know if I said OSBI, probably Love County was there. They took him out to a location because he is the one who said that he helped bury the bodies. And he said he told the ATF officer that Kobe Barrick had hid one of the bodies out on his property out in Leon. So it'd be his grandmother's property that was left him, I believe. And so, but I know that once they got Deuce out there because he was supposed to show them where he dug the graves, and then he backs out of it and tells them he was lying about it.
Yeah.
So
Why would you lie about something like that? I mean, he just got cold
he
feet.
didn't. I know some in law enforcement believe that. Oh, the FBI was there as well. They believe that somebody got in his ear from the Love County Sheriff's Department before they ever left that sheriff's department. So, so he got cold feet because he was threatened, I believe. And I know others believe that as well. There was a couple more instances with Deuce, that, do you remember we've talked about this before, on July the 10th of 2013, when we got the tip that Molly was tied to a tree.
Mm-hmm.
On that same day, this boy, Deuce, he was found along Oswald Road.
Yes.
Yeah, same person. He was on Oswald Road in
He
the
was
ditch.
catatonic. He was catatonic.
Yeah. Yes, they had to call an ambulance to come and get him and take him into the emergency room. I know.
And wasn't he rambling stuff to the
Yes, that's what I was going to say, to the nurse that was there. It was a male nurse, that he was saying something about Molly. That was on, like I said, on July the 10th. And then there was another situation with the same kid that he was out in Leon and had flipped out, and that his mother had to go out there and get him. And he was rambling on about Molly then as well. So, I think this boy was, I think he knows something. I believe with all my heart he knows something, was involved in something, but I don't think it was at his own will.
Oh, absolutely.
Honestly.
No.
He seems tortured by it. And here's the thing.
does.
It's going to torture him for the rest of his life unless he comes clean.
Well, he will. And, I found it interesting that JODI was saying that, really, it doesn't matter what your involvement was in this. You're going down. She was saying that, you are about as bad as pulling the trigger. You're going down if you're not the first one to come forward and tell the information that you know.
Yep.
So, it may be a situation where everybody goes to prison and do some time, but, it would be a lot less than those that are holding out and are not going to tell.
Yeah.
So I believe it'll happen.
Well,
there's somebody out there with a conscience that's just.
Well, I mean, you still get calls from people, so that are kind of, telling you stuff, and so, and there are people that their consciences are getting to them. And even if they don't know exactly what happened, they know the people, and they're convinced that they had something to do with it.
Yeah.
So that's
so true.
And
I've talked to several of them recently. They were not involved, and I know that to be fact. They were not, but they know everything that was going on, like down in that area, because they spent a lot of time down there and with these people. And really, they thought, that they all kind of acted like they were bad, and, they would do these things. But this person, well, a couple of people that I've talked to never thought that they actually would. But looking back on things now and remembering conversations and remembering things that were said down there, even after Molly and Colt went missing, it's like there's no doubt in their mind that they're involved.
Yeah.
None at all. Things, little snide remarks or little comments within amongst each other that were being said in front of other people. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense.
And now looking back on those things, it's like, there's no doubt that they are involved, that they did something. So
well, Stormy alluded to that too. I mean, she heard a lot, and she knows a lot. And because she ran with all those people, it was very helpful when she came out and kind of laid it all out there, and really kind of shook things up. And I think it really, because when you have someone like that who just comes off very credible because she was there, She's been out of that lifestyle for a while now. She did her time. She's remaking her life, and she can't live with this information being inside her. And so, and it was the catalyst was when they started pointing the finger at Jesse, and she was just like, no way. She knows these people. She knows what's going on. She knows all the people. She was, intimate with Colt, and and so she knew all those people. So it was great that she came out, and it kind of helped. I really do feel like it helped the case significantly. But I think what we need to do is, I think we're going to contact Phil Klein. I want to see if he did take any soil samples and if he had those tested. I'd love to find out where this guy Deuce is nowadays. If he's, the last time we checked, like a year and a half
a while ago,
he was still in the area, and I'm sure he's still in the area. But it's all these things that they were so close. So close, they had someone willing to show them things and then back out. And I understand he was probably threatened, or his family was threatened, and so it's horrible. But anyway, I think it's an important exercise to keep on bringing some of these experts in and having them look at the information and getting some perspective and offering their expertise.
Well, it is. Yeah. I think it is, and I think, it's just a matter. I always say this, but I still believe it. It's going to be a matter of time, because I believe it will happen.
Yeah.
I believe I'm with JODI. It's solvable. And I believe the right person is going to actually give up that information and do the right thing. And, and you mentioned, when you were talking to one of them about the deathbed confessions, and that, that's absolutely true. There is somebody who don't have long to go on this earth, and it's eating them, and it's a little bit here and there, though, they just can't come right out and say it all. And I know there's more. So, and I know BIA is well aware of it, and they have spoke to the individual. So
well, that's good.
Yeah. So they'll I hear little tidbits here and there, and what's going on with that situation.
And like I always do on this podcast, if you know something, or if you were involved in it in some way, you heard what JODI said. The first person that comes forward is going to get the deal. And if you have information, you can reach out to the BIA. All their information is at the end of our website. It's on our website, and it's also at the end of this podcast. We put it on there religiously, so you can go to them directly, because they're actively looking into this case, and we need to solve it. We need to bring those guys home. We need to bring Molly and Colt home. And so we're going to keep on going. But Paul, thanks for talking to us today. Love hearing your perspective, and we love to hear your optimism too, because you sound, every time, it's like we get closer, you kind of feel like you're further away the closer you get. But I think we're getting closer and closer and closer.
Oh, I do too. And you know what? I have faith, in God, and I know that everything is in God's timing. We know this. And, I think there's things that needs to be revealed. Maybe there's lessons to be learned, but before we get our answers, but we will get our answers.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind. I have complete faith.
We do too.
That we will.
We do too.
All right. Thank you, Paula. If you have any information regarding the case, please contact the BIA at www.bia.gov/BIA/missing-murder-unit.
You can also call their hotline with tips at 1-833-560-2065 and email them directly at ojs_mmu@bia.gov.
And if you want to text them with a tip, text keyword BIA-MMU and send your tip to 847-411.
Check the Partners in True Crime website for this and any additional information.
If you or anyone you know is suffering from a methamphetamine addiction, please contact the American Meth Addiction Hotline.
If you or anyone you know has been the victim of sexual abuse, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline. All rights reserved. This has been a production of 722 Media Content. Please visit our website where you can subscribe to the podcast, find show notes, and listen to Vi's original song, Take Me Back, written for Molly Miller.